Hey guys, Stephanie with AmericanMuscle.com here with this Mishimoto Down Pipe that's available for all 2015 and up EcoBoost Mustangs. The Mishimoto Down Pipe is going to be for the EcoBoost owners who are looking for a stainless steel downpipe to replace the restrictive factory downpipe. This is a catted downpipe that allows for a factory or factory-like catback setup. The whole point of an aftermarket downpipe is to relieve some of the restriction around the turbo because from factory it's pretty constricting. Opening up some of the airflow from the turbo can give some nice performance improvements, and basically, when it comes to the turbo, if you're looking for performance, you're pretty much going to want airflow as unrestricted as possible so the turbo can spool quickly. The faster the turbo can spool, the more gains that you'll see. Taking a closer look at this downpipe here, it's a full 3-inch 304 stainless steel mandrel bent pipe with an optional step down. To break that down some, stainless steel is always going to be nice for exhaust components, and you won't have to worry about corrosion with the Mishimoto downpipe. And the idea behind mandrel bending is to get smoother exhaust flow, and smoother exhaust flow means more power and better performance. And the step down is optional, which is great. If you run the adapter, it's going to reduce the 3-inch down to a 2¼ inch, which leaves the option of keeping a stock catback or running an aftermarket 2¼ inch one. Or you can pair the downpipe with a 3-inch catback now or even down the road some. That means you can pick up the downpipe for some performance gains without having to purchase a complete new catback while you're at it unless you want to. And then you have some room to grow and the ability to upgrade in stages. So a 3-inch downpipe is definitely going to be larger than the factory downpipe, which means that you are upgrading here and you're going to notice a difference when you compare the factory downpipe to this one here. This particular downpipe has a high flow cat, but if you're looking to get around that cat, Mishimoto does offer a downpipe that comes non-catted, which is going to cost a little less than the catted version here, which is typical to see in all exhaust. And if you pick up the uncatted version of this downpipe, then it's going to be even less restrictive than the catted version. But like I said, this is a high flow cat, which means that it is more free-flowing than the factory cat is. So even though the main idea behind an aftermarket downpipe is to help give the turbo unhindered airflow, swapping out your factory downpipe is also going to give you more sound too, especially if you're running the uncatted version. You'll hear a lot more turbo noise and get more of that turbo 4-cylinder sound. Also, be sure to keep in mind that a computer tune will be required to run either the catted or the off-road version of this downpipe, so it is going to be necessary to tune for this downpipe. So even if you are going with the catted version of any downpipe, it's always recommended to run a tune, especially if you want to be able to realize the full power potential behind upgrading your downpipe. Another nice thing about this downpipe is that it actually has 3 O2 bungs. This gives you room for the 2 O2 sensors and then another spot for a wideband as well, which is always going to be a good idea when you start playing around with custom tunes and additional boost. This is a 2-piece design that comes with a floating 2-bolt flange, a slip joint connector, and a V-band flange, and it doesn't get any nicer than a good old V-band. And if you take a look here, you'll see that Mishimoto designed the downpipe to put the flex pipe in more of a horizontal position instead of a vertical one like some other brands do. What I've noticed with the downpipe offerings across all brands, at least at this point in time, is that generally speaking, the higher end players like Cooks and CPE share the same idea as Mishimoto does here, while the less expensive options like BBK have the flex pipe vertically positioned. This is just a little food for thought, so pair that with the knowledge of the 2.3 and its firing order. When we look at price, the catted Mishimoto downpipe is pretty much right in the middle of the pack. It costs between $500 and $550, which is less expensive than Cooks, Stainless Works, and CPE, but a little bit higher priced than BBK. The off-road version is about $100 less, and there are more options as far as brands with off-road downpipes, but Mishimoto is still right around the middle of the pack there too. When it comes to the install, luckily this isn't a bad one. You're probably looking at a few hours to get everything done, and I'm going to call it a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the scale. This is obviously going to be easier to do on a lift, but of course you can get the job done using a jack and stands if you don't have access to one. You won't need anything out of the ordinary, just a few sockets, wrenches, and a short extension. You're going to be removing the front and rear O2s for the install and swapping them over to the new downpipe, so I just unclip and leave them in the factory downpipe and switch them after you get the old pipe out. This way you won't be twisting wires and it'll make for a faster install. You're going to be reusing the gasket from the turbo outlet, so don't forget to make sure to grab the factory downpipe gasket before installing the new downpipe, since sometimes the gasket can stick to the turbo. The third bung comes plugged, so if you're going to use it, just remove the plug and put in your wideband sensor. If you're not ready for this yet, then just make sure that the plug is tight before you install the pipe. It's going to be easier to install the pipe in sections, starting with the first section with the O2 sensors, then move on to the second section and insert the adapter if you're going to use it and throw your V-band on. The only other thing I'd say is to line the new downpipe up first before tightening everything down, but that's about it. So only a few bolts and about 2 hours time for the install. So overall, the Mishimoto downpipe is a 3-inch stainless steel downpipe that can work with either a 3-inch catback or it can step down to work with a 2¼ inch catback. You have a choice between either catted or non-catted depending on what you're looking for, and not only is this going to increase performance, but it's also going to open up some sound on the EcoBoost as well. You can check this out more online for yourself and see what you think. I'm Stephanie, and for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.